as possible. Now, the whole CEP conversation, which I know we're going to describe in more detail in the budget meeting, adds another layer.
Remind us of what that means.
That's the community eligibility provision.
Which means the whole school becomes.
The whole school then becomes a school-wide.
So we don't have the, as Chris data as we used to in terms of this school is 92% EDS, this school is now CEP model, the whole school gets it.
You have to talk in terms of the direct serve percentage. And I quickly went through that
This is
on
one of those things
November.
that got by me and Carol. I never thought about it as having anything to do with our being able to look at individual students, but it has actually changed.
It really has.
Because now the parent doesn't fill out an application.
They do not.
Don't have to.
Because the direct serve percentage is greater than 40% for the school, so therefore then the school, every student in the school would then be
40%?
Yeah.
for direct serve. Well, I'm almost regretting.
Yeah, we should probably do that.
What's that? It's the TANF and SNAP databases that we have at the state. That's where the information is
They
collected.
don't have to apply.
Yeah.
Everybody used to have to apply if you wanted to get it.
Okay. Well, we used to have a program by kid.
Right.
And so when you use that old exhibit, JCA -2 that's gone, and ran the lottery, you would know down to the kid if that kid got a bumped up lottery for a particular school.
And I think Wake has made some headway in terms of being able to use that for student assignment purposes. Now, that's been a pretty recent decision by somebody. Court. So that may be something that we'll further investigate. All right. And then the final is effective use of our capital resources. So, again, this is looking at cost for transportation, cost for overcrowding. If there's a decision to move students, does that cause overcrowding or further overcrowding, and what expense is associated with that? All right. So we've taken this a step further, as many of you have seen in the board presentation through the community request process, and that we formally developed a matrix that had exactly these variables with exactly this language, and have applied a weight, very simple weight, to each one of those, certainly subject to review every time we go through this process. There's lots of subjectivity to that, certainly knowledge. But we do use exactly what is in this policy, that process. So I think as staff, we have executed exactly what the board has prescribed.
When you say you weighted them, so they get, the homeschool gets higher weight.
Right,
travel
this is
distance
number
gets
one.
higher weight,
Yeah.
and C, and
That's exactly right. You got
that
it.
issue with diversity is so far down that it has no ability to affect anything.
Yeah, I think we even gave it a 2. So we actually even gave it a little extra bond, I believe, in the process. But clearly, through this process, the proximity and homeschools has the strongest weight. Okay. That's not to say that there isn't conflict, though, between proximity and diversity in all of these factors. Matter of fact, usually there is some sort of conflict.
Scott, we had a discussion, this was we were talking about different schools and the number of classrooms and the size of the common area and the
Yeah, I think that was like a
students
December
Yeah,
conversation.
and trying to balance out, when you say a school's 140% overcrowded versus 120%, what does that really mean?
What does that really
between
mean?
those two schools? And when you get into the stability and predictability aspect, that really, to me, kind of plays into understanding what is overcrowded for school A and what is overcrowded for school B. And how do you get that levelized definition in place? I mean, if we're gonna go through this process every 6 years, then I think we need to understand.
Yeah, having a firm understanding of that would be
Yeah.
reasonable, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the work that we did almost 8 or 9 months prior to the work we're doing now really did a great job of setting the stage for some of the issues that you're going to be tackling. Even though we didn't make any policy changes per se in our transfer policy, there was lots of good discussion along these lines. Absolutely. And then finally, community involvement. And Tom and I have had a little bit of conversation on this in terms of what exactly this means. And I've kind of used it maybe a little different way than what it was originally intended, in calling out our community and saying that they're important as a part of this process, the student assignment process. But I think it actually says a little more than that, too.
Well, people interpreted it, people interpreted it as meaning that we had all this other stuff about, the way some people interpreted it, Scott, was that we have the decision matrix, we have homeschooled, we have all this other stuff, and the afterthought is we also want to include community. When it was actually a whole separate section, and along with all of this, we wanted to say we need everybody's involvement through this whole process, not just after we've gone through all of our stuff, we're going to then see if the community wants to get involved. And I think some people were just offended that they were the last.
The last priority.
Yeah, the last priority.
I sure hope to put it up front. We can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah, sure can.
In fact, what we have to deal with is the problems, and the problems society brings. The way our neighborhoods are figured.
So that is tough. I agree.
We sure do that.
Yep. All right, so that concludes the guiding principles as a whole. And then you get into other parts of the student assignment plan. So I'll pause for a moment if there are any concluding or final remarks on that.
So what do you all want to do? This is, at 5:22,
Yeah.
and it is, want Scott to move into a new area, or?
Where will we still?
And I would like Tom to, people to look at their calendars and make sure that May 14th works for you, and we can have a good productive meeting and keep on with this.
Yeah, we've made a lot of good ground today. We really have. Covered a lot of ground. And this next piece may roll a little bit quicker because it becomes, I think, a little more procedural in nature as opposed to.
Our next scheduled meeting is the 14th of May. Eric, are you? Yeah. And you're good? Yeah. Good. I think I have a form that will be in Eric. Get on the schedule for that, so it's more. And of course, Mary sometimes comes through. In terms of tonight, though, if we want to, begin to look at the rest of this, so we'll wait, and that may can start your student assignment plan. Theater clinics area.
I'd like to stop.
I gotta go back and do one.
I think that the other,
I'm glad your schedule changed.
I'm glad you could get, come to call. I do think that at some point, and I think at the retreat, we'll probably have this opportunity. But, this is going through policy, this is what it is. At some point, we have to say, what do we want?
Yeah, right.
What's my agenda? What's your, individually, what's our agendas? And not just, this is what we have, how we revise it, but what do we really want to see in this? Now, we got to understand where we are and to be able to try to see where we're going. So,
And I think it will be helpful for me to look at what used to be and how we got from year to year, and what the law says we can and can't do.
So it's our work for the work session coming up May 26th. That's kind of where we're headed with this work. Is this along the right track? Does this feel right to have discussion at this high level over our guiding principles, and then to tailor that so that the board can at least affirm or come to some don't know if consensus is the right word, or at least a directive in terms of thought, in terms of where this work would go.
I don't even know if we get, just based on the retreat time frame, we get to a consensus, but at least we get to, everybody is on the same page, with understanding where we are.
Okay. I don't want to bite off too much, but at the same
If we
time.
could get farther, great. But I think that when we understand where we are, only then can we say where we want to be. And where we want to be may not be these guiding principles precisely, there may not be this precise plan. And I mean, if it is, then I'd be surprised if it is. Surprised if there aren't some things we want to change. But that's my own thinking about it. We need this background to move forward, but because we need to know where we are to start with, but we need to be able to move forward if we need to build a different.
Okay.
This has been really helpful. I wonder about, what about our colleagues that didn't get a chance to do this today? How are they going to get any benefit like this before the workshop?
So some of the thinking was that we were going to go through the same kind of exercise, through the work, or through the work session.
So that we've obviously taken 2 hours to do this, which is
Just
an hour and a
4.
half for 4 people.
Yeah, and so part of this is a little bit of a dry run on my part too, just to see.
That's okay.
Well-
Steve, have you recorded this meeting? You actually may have a video.
I think you do.
I never promised to deliver stuff until I've already delivered it, but I can get back to you about that.
We'll catch Sarah's comment on the Highland Creek.
And I was like, oh, no, please don't put that on these.
But I do think it's important for our board policy committee to at least understand our
Yeah.
policy. And so it's not just a dry run, but also to gauge your,
So here's the thing about the retreat that comes up in another month. The sooner we get all the documents that we need the board to have looked at, then the better it will be. So we don't want to send it out Monday before Tuesday,
right.
especially since that's Memorial Day. But it's got to be a couple of weeks ahead.
Yeah, I'm-
Maybe something about the retreat meeting the 26th.
It's the 26th. It's more of a work session. Yeah.
There wasn't
May 26th.
something else on it.
No.
Sorry, May 26th.
So I'm just mentioning to Eric, if we could set up a Google Docs site for you all, load all these documents up there, but I mean, we need to do what's realistic and it's gonna work for every board member. Even get some tech people to come, maybe at the next policy committee, show you how to get to Google Docs and set up
I've
your
used it before,
account.
but I have to be able to let that.
Well, I think the one thing we ran into was the passwords you ran that meeting with me.
Yeah.
You know, we uploaded a bunch of documents last year, but then the passwords expired because we didn't continue to use it. So we're trying to get back into it again this year.
I mean, there's always a solution that our tech
Well,
people
yeah,
can figure
but-
that out.
But to me, it gets back to what you're talking about as far as getting rid of the paper. We can utilize
I
that.
mean, I can email you PDFs, load up your mailbox.
We can also do the SharePoint too. That's the other solution, is the SharePoint site. And typically you have to be behind the firewall, but
Yeah, I say,
the Google Docs, I think, probably works. I mean, we just send out a link to the directors, and then you just click on the files.
I'm sitting here talking like I can do it, Scott can do it, so.
I think we're gonna do it,